What's going on, everyone? I'm Encore. This is Tomorrow Never Comes, and this video is all about the silent killer. And I want to actually break down what it is and some of the things you can do to combat this silent killer. Now, the inspiration for this and some of the content for this actually came from Teeka Tiwari. If you guys are not familiar with who Teeka Tiwari is, he's a very prominent figure, influencer in the crypto space. Comes from traditional Wall Street financial space, so knows a thing or two about generating wealth, losing wealth, generating it again, keeping it, and then multiplying it. So let's just jump right into this, because I think it's very valuable of where we are in today's time. All right, so what is the silent killer? The silent killer is inflation. Okay, now if you guys aren't aware of inflation, it's literally printing money. Okay, an excess of money in the system floating through the veins of the system, which then devalues the amount of money that you had. Okay, and so if you ever hear, your parents or grandparents for sure, maybe great grandparents, when I went to the grocery store, bread was 10 cents, milk was 50 cents, whatever it is. And now you go and bread is $3, $4, whatever it is. And all the price points seem so ridiculously higher than what you've heard in the past. That's what inflation is. Your money gets devalued every single day that we move forward. All right. So I'm going to get myself out of the way here. All right. So what is this picture of? Okay. This picture of termites eating into wood. And this is why I call it the silent killer, is that termites will eat very quietly, and majority of times you don't even know there are termites there, that there's a problem there, until the damage is significant or it's too late. And that's exactly how inflation plays out, is that you don't see it. It's not a day-to-day thing that you can actually monitor in terms of how it affects you, but over time it starts to erode the value of your dollar. And so just like termites, inflation, you don't see it happening, but it's happening under the surface. And then once you do take note of it, it actually is a much bigger problem that you would have ever thought. All right. So, and the other thing too is that, they always say clarity breeds mastery. Okay. Well, clarity means that you have to be aware of something. And in this case, just like with termites, if you don't know there's a problem, you're never going to look for a solution. You just don't think there's anything wrong. And then by the time you need to find that solution, it's already been either too late or significantly down the path where it takes a lot of work to build that value back. All right. So what are three traits that investors look for when the money supply is high? So when there is rampant inflation in the system, what do investors look for? What do savvy investors look for? And they look for assets that have three qualities or three traits to them. One is they're real. So you can't just continue to print over and over and over again that same asset. Okay, so the harder it is to create that asset, the more real it is. So if you think of real estate, things like that, that's an example, right? You cannot continually, during the pandemic, homes and things were built pretty much like it was printing money, but for the most part, it's a hard asset, and it's difficult to just up and reproduce another one exactly the way that it is. So the harder something is to print, the more real it is. Okay, the second trait is it rare? Now, I don't have to explain what rare is to you, but we'll go through it anyways. A limited supply. All right, so the more rare it is, the more value it has tied to that particular asset, potentially. Okay, obviously there has to be a demand for it, and that's what ties into the next point, is there has to be a track record. There has to be a history of demand. Just because something is rare, just because something is real, doesn't make it valuable unless there is a track record for demand. It could be a fad, but there's savvy investors are looking for things that have historically been in demand over time. Okay, so those are the three traits. So we want to look now is what are two assets that fit those three traits? Okay, so what's real, what's rare, and what has a track record. Now, one is Bitcoin. All right, this is where everything lies for me. Okay, in terms of value, in terms of future value, Bitcoin is the place where I place a lot of my time, money, and energy. Let's put it that way. Okay. The second one here is collectibles, and again, this is all framing from something Teeka put out in terms of content, and I think it's very interesting to add collectibles too. While I am mostly in Bitcoin, actually like 95% in Bitcoin and crypto itself, I think it's important that you still look at other asset classes and don't be just tunnel vision in any one particular one. Okay, so let's get into how this works. Okay, so collectibles and Bitcoin, we mentioned those two. So let's go with in terms of those three traits. Is it real? Is it rare? And does it have a track record? Okay, so collectibles can be things like baseball cards, basketball cards, cars, stamps, things like that. Okay, and so are they real? Yeah, you can't print more of the originals. Okay, so if you're looking at baseball cards, if you're in the U.S. or North America, Mickey Mantle. Okay, everyone pretty much knows who Mickey Mantle is if they're a sports fan. You can't print more of those originals. And then you look at the rare aspect of it. There's a finite supply. There's usually only a certain amount within a collection, and more cannot be printed of that type. And then track record. I mean, Mickey Mantle baseball cards, it's been over a century of demand, or somewhere in there, maybe less than that. But Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, you name any of the historical, some of the older players as well. I mean, we're talking about in the 1900s. So there is a demand for them, and they're being sold in the millions and millions of dollars. Okay, so there's definitely meets the criteria of real, rare, and track record. Now Bitcoin, this is my bread and butter. This is what I love. Okay, real. Now here's the funny thing, as I'm sure many people are going to think, well, it's not real. I can't physically touch Bitcoin, so it doesn't fit the qualities. Here's where Bitcoin differs in terms of the real aspect, is you're actually transferring real wealth. Okay, because there's a dollar figure tied to a Bitcoin, or Satoshis, which are a denomination of Bitcoin. So there's real wealth that's actually tied to Bitcoin itself. So when you're moving Bitcoin, you're moving actual wealth. When you're buying Bitcoin or selling Bitcoin, you're buying and selling real actual wealth. Okay, so that's the real aspect of Bitcoin, is you are transferring real wealth, and you can transfer it anytime to anywhere in the world without permission. Okay, so that's the real part of it. All right, is it rare? Well, there's only 21 million that'll ever be mined, ever. That's not going to change. So that's the very definition of rare. And is there a track record? Well, of all the things that you've heard, of all the coins, of all the protocols, Bitcoin has been going strong since 2009. All the ups and downs that we've had, it continues to thrive. It's here to stay, and it's the big dog. It's the lion in this jungle, in this crypto jungle. And as Bitcoin moves, the rest of the market moves. Since 2016, Bitcoin has been up around 4,500%. That includes the current dips that we've had. So nothing has performed as well as Bitcoin over that period of time. So in the end, what are we trying to do? Okay, what are strategic investing? What is it about? What are strategic investors trying to do? All right, very simple. We are trying to find the goal you should have is trying to find assets that appreciate faster than inflation. All right, so right now I think inflation's sitting around high 8%. If you're in the US, whatever the inflation rate is at in where you live, you need to find assets that are worth more in the same time period that we're having this inflation. So if it's 8%, then you want something that's going to give you a return of more than 8%, 10%, 50%, 100%, or like Bitcoin, 4,500% in the last 6 years. So that is the goal. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen in like every single day. Is it going to beat the rate of inflation? No. But over the long span, when you look back over a period of time, the assets that you own should be appreciating faster than inflation. All right. This is the way to remedy this silent killer. Is to have a plan in place, to experiment, to do your research, have conviction, and dollar cost average into these assets that are actually worth more over time and at a faster rate than inflation. So guys, I hope you found value in this video. If you did, hit the like button. It really helps a lot, and we'll spread the message even more. This is something I had to get familiar with. I didn't know any of this stuff when I started. So the more I can share this with others, the better. We just need to be smarter and understand what the ultra wealthy do is not outside of our own scope. So guys, hope you enjoyed. Remember, tomorrow never comes. Take action. Invest in yourself today. Find assets that appreciate faster than inflation. And I'll see you guys in the next video.